Hi, everybody. This is going to be the Till Mobley and Hamer project of the Champions of Change, a comparative analysis of the two influential female leaders of the Civil Rights Movement. My name is Lorraine Carey.
My name is Meg Webster.
My name is Abraham Morad.
And I'm Melissa Rojas.
Next slide. Our overview is going to go over the backgrounds and the early lives of the two women, their activism and contribution to society, their leadership and influence, impact and legacy, and lastly, the conclusion of the two. Mamie Till Mobley was born in Webb, Mississippi on November 23rd in 1921. Her family moved to Chicago a year after her birth and married Lewis Till when she was 18 years old. Emmett Till was born on July 25th in 1941. Mamie suffered domestic violence from her husband, to which she was luckily able to file a restraining order from him and separated from him soon after. Around the time Emmett was 14, he was closest with his grandmother and was able to go on a trip to Mississippi with his uncle. Mamie and her mother were originally against the trip, but were later convinced to let him go. Before he left, she had to teach her son the grave differences of the North from the South and taught him not to interact with white women. In August of 1955, the infamous incident occurred where Till was dared by his cousins to speak to Carolyn Bryant outside of her grocery store and allegedly wolf whistled at her. The scared cousins grabbed Till in their car, hoping to run away from the fearful situation, but news spread fast in the small Mississippian town. Later, Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam went to the uncle's house to teach Till a lesson and remove the teen from the house. Emmett Till's body was found at the bottom of a river with a cotton gin fan tied to him. The body was stabbed, burned, and shot all over. Till Mobley made the life-altering decision to leave her son's funeral as an open casket ceremony to let the world know what the two monsters did to her poor.
From fields to activism. Fannie Lou Hamer was born October 6, 1917 in Montgomery County, Mississippi, but grew up in Sunflower County in the area of Mississippi known as the Delta. She was the youngest of her parents' 20 children. She had a difficult childhood in the poorest regions of Mississippi. Her mother, Luella Townsend, was a guiding force for her. She wanted to make sure Fannie could read, and she was a good role model for being courageous and sticking up for one's beliefs. In 1944, Hamer married Perry Hamer, and in 1954, Hamer was involuntarily given a hysterectomy when going to get a cyst removed in her stomach. This injustice left Hamer devastated and hoping for change. In 1962, the SNCC arrived in Hamer's town and she attempted to register to vote for the first time, cementing her leadership to the cause. She was forced to leave her home of 18 years after being told she had a choice to stay and have her job or go and revoke her voter registration. And she ended up leaving.
After attending one of the most gut-wrenching ceremonies of her life, Till Mobley moved her attention to the trial of her son's murder. She was originally recommended not to go back to Mississippi for the safety of herself and her family, but ignored the suggestions. The NAACP was able to see the significance of Emmett's death and provided support for Mamie. Before the trial began, the organization boosted the story of Emmett to publications like Jet Magazine and the Chicago Defender to spread awareness to the Deep South's horrible treatment to the teen's mutilated body. They also were able to provide witnesses for the trial and help Till Mobley with providing justice. The Mississippi Police Department heavily criticized the NAACP's involvement to the trial. Local law enforcement would stalk the representatives of the association and would engage in intimidation tactics. There was heavy media presence as the impact of Emmett's open casket shook the nation. As much as the police tried to censor the media, there was no hiding the horrors of the innocent boy and his strong, grieving mother. Till Mobley gave her statement about her son's life and events that led up to his murder. She spoke about her hesitation of Emmett going to the Deep South and how her worst nightmare came true. Mamie left before the trial ended as she knew the justice would not be served. The two men were acquitted of all charges after only an hour of deliberation. The jury consisted of only all white males.
Force for voting rights. Hamer co-founded the MFDP, the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, in 1964, which challenged local Democratic Party's efforts to block Black voting participation. She went on to the Democratic National Convention and argued they should be the official delegation and called for mandatory integrated delegations. She also founded Summer Freedom, which brought together college students to help with voter registration for African American people in the South. She tried to run for House of Representatives in 1964, but was blocked from doing so. In 1968, Hamer founded Pig Bank, which helped provide free pigs for African American farmers for the purpose of breeding. And in 1969, she founded Freedom Farm Cooperative, which consisted of buying land that Black farmers could work on and possibly own together. With the help of donations, she was able to purchase 640 acres. She also set up a boutique, a coop store, and sewing enterprises. She built 200 low-income houses on the property, and it was the highest employer at the time. Most of it is still around today. Next slide.
When it comes to maternal activism, Mamie's grief for her child's murder made her an activist and showed the power of personal tragedy that can be a huge social change. For example, one of Mamie's most important and courageous acts was to have an open casket funeral for Emmett, her son. It showed the whole world how atrocious and violence against her son really is. The shocking photos of Emmett Till's mutilated body were published in Jet magazine and other magazines as well, mobilizing public opinion and dramatically raising awareness of the brutality of racism in America. Mamie Still Mobley became a vocal civil rights advocate following the Emmett's death, her son. She traveled extensively and delivered many speeches at rallies to bring attention to racial violence and injustices in the American conscience. However, it was her ability as powerful storyteller on a personal level that brought many people the struggle for civil rights and into the movement. Mamie Still Mobley worked directly with several civil rights organizations, including the NAACP. Her activism undergirded the work of those organizations, strengthening their efforts and increasing the prominence of their campaigns toward justice and equality. The story of Emmett Till and his mother, Mamie Till Mobley, their reaction to the murder is culturally deep. It has been the topic of hundreds of books, documentaries, and artworks that have kept Emmett Till alive in people's minds and the lessons learned from such eventful tragedy. Next slide.
Fannie Lou Hamer was a true grassroots powerhouse. Born into a family of sharecroppers in Mississippi, she experienced the harsh realities of racial discrimination firsthand. These experiences fueled her passion for activism and led her to become a prominent leader in the civil rights movement. Hamer's leadership was characterized by her ability to mobilize and empower disenfranchised African Americans, particularly in the fight for voting rights. As a field secretary for the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, she played a crucial role in organizing voter registration drives in the South. Her work was not without significant risk. She was often met with violent opposition, including being brutally beaten for her efforts to register Black voters. One of Hamer's most notable contributions was her powerful oratory skills. She used her voice to shed light on the injustices faced by African Americans, famously stating, "I am sick and tired of being sick and tired." Her testimony at the 1964 Democratic National Convention, where she detailed her experiences of police brutality, brought national attention to the plight of Black voters and highlighted the systemic disenfranchisement they faced. During the convention, Hamer famously declared, "We didn't come all this way for no 2 seats," when offered a compromise of only 2 seats for the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party. This quote underscored her determination to fight for full representation and equality. Hamer's grassroots efforts were pivotal in challenging voter suppression and advocating for political rights. She co-founded the MFDP, which sought to challenge the legitimacy of an all-white Mississippi delegation at the Democratic National Convention. Her tireless work helped to lay the foundation for the Voting Rights Act of 1965, a landmark piece of legislation that sought to eliminate racial discrimination in voting.
When it comes to the legacy of awareness of Mamie Mobley, Mamie exemplified the best way personal tragedy can be molded as a force for social change towards justice and equality. Emmett Till's murder and his mother's actions are often credited with having energized the civil rights movement, leading to such important milestones as the Montgomery bus boycott and finally the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. When it comes to education and impact, the story of Mamie and the tragedy of Emmett are taught in schools to this day, acting as one of the main teachings from the history of racial violence in America. They remind one of the struggles that goes on to this day for justice and equality. Mamie Till Mobley's legacy lives on through multiple foundations and organizations, all of which dealt with civil rights and social justice. Her courage and activism have inspired many other people to continue this fight for equality and human rights. One of the greatest examples was Rosa Parks, when she always looked up to Mamie.
Fannie Lou Hamer's impact on the civil rights movement and her lasting legacy cannot be overstated. Her tireless advocacy for voting rights was instrumental in the passing of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, a crucial piece of legislation that aimed to eradicate racial discrimination in voting. Hamer's approach to activism was deeply rooted in grassroots organizing. She believed in the power of the people and worked tirelessly to mobilize African Americans to exercise their right to vote. Her efforts highlighted the importance of grassroots movements in the achieving of social and political change. Hamer's legacy continues to inspire modern movements for voting rights and racial equality. Her story is a powerful reminder of the impact that one individual can have in the fight for justice. The challenges she faced and overcame serve as a testament to her resilience and determination. Today, as we continue to grapple with the issues of voter suppression and racial inequality, Hamer's legacy provides both a historical context and a source of inspiration. Her life's work underscores the ongoing struggle for equality and the importance of continued activism in the face of systemic injustice. Reflecting on her fight for full representation, her quote, "We didn't come all this way for no two seats," resonates as a powerful statement of her unwavering commitment to justice and equality. In addition to her work in voting rights, Hamer founded the Freedom Farm Cooperative in 1969. This initiative was aimed at combating poverty and providing economic opportunities for Black farmers and families in Mississippi. The Freedom Farm Cooperative promoted self-sufficiency and economic independence, further solidifying Hamer's legacy as a champion for the holistic improvement of African American lives. Fannie Lou Hamer's contributions to the civil rights movement remain a vital part of American history, and her influence is felt in the ongoing efforts to ensure equal rights for all. As we conclude our discussion on Mamie Till Mobley and Fannie Lou Hamer, it is crucial to recognize how these two extraordinary women galvanized the civil rights movement, each employing distinct but equally impactful approaches. Mamie Till Mobley, through the unimaginable pain of losing her son Emmett Till to racial violence, transformed her grief into a clarion call for justice. Her brave decision to display Emmett's brutalized body to the world forced the nation to confront the viciousness of racial hatred. Mamie's courage did not just spark outrage, it ignited a movement. She showed us, even in our darkest moments, we can find the strength to fight for change. Her actions remind us that a single moment of courage can alter the course of history. On the other hand, Fannie Lou Hamer's relentless fight for voting rights and economic empowerment was rooted in her own lived experiences of poverty and oppression. Her powerful oratory skills and unwavering dedication to grassroots activism mobilized countless disenfranchised African Americans. Hamer's testimony at the 1964 Democratic National Convention, where she asked, "Is this America?" forced the country to confront its own hypocrisy. Her work with the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party and the establishment of the Freedom Farm Cooperative demonstrated her belief in self-sufficiency and community empowerment. Hamer's voice was not just heard, it resonated and reverberated through the corridors of power, demanding justice and equality. Together, these women teach us the profound impact of individual action in the face of systemic injustice. They remind us that it is the voices of the oppressed, the ones who suffer the most, that carry the deepest truths and the most compelling calls for change. Their contributions, though sometimes overshadowed by their male counterparts, were vital in bringing the Black perspectives of injustice to the forefront of the nation's consciousness. Mamie Till Mobley and Fannie Lou Hamer may not be as universally revered as some of the male leaders in the civil rights movement, but their legacies are no less significant. They brought the raw, unfiltered realities of racial injustice into the light, challenging the nation to see and to act. Their stories are a testament to the power of resilience, the necessity of courage, and the enduring strength of the human spirit in the quest for justice. As we reflect on their lives and their legacies, let us be inspired by their unwavering determination and their unyielding hope. Let us carry forward their fight for justice and equality, remembering always that even in the face of systemic oppression, our individual actions can make an extraordinary difference. Mamie Till Mobley and Fannie Lou Hamer have shown us the way. It is now up to us to follow in their footsteps and continue their work for a better, more just country.